Yeah, so my name is Anvita and I have my colleague Srinath with me here today. We are both part of Cloud Engineering Group, a Center of Excellence at Oracle. And before we begin, let me just check if everybody has their, Srinath, can you go to the next slide, please? Yes. So just to have a check that everybody has created their account and everybody has already logged in, just to flash the slide. So if at all anybody has not created their account, please scan this QR code and create your account so that we can quickly start with the workshop. And Srinath will introduce you, and further to that, we'll keep switching over. Srinath, you can introduce you.
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. Thanks, Anvita. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Machine Learning Red Bull Racing Honda Beginner Workshop. And I hope all of you are having a wonderful day attending to these insightful sessions. We are here to guide and support all of you for this workshop. So without further delay, allow me to introduce you to the workshop. So a race is so exciting, right? I mean, that you can't look away for 1 second, while other times the result is clear from the beginning. So what is that magic factor that makes a race exciting? Is it the amount of overtaking? Is it the battle for the #1 position? Is it the weather conditions? Or are we missing some invisible factor that we can't quite understand yet? The answer to the question lies hidden away in the data, several decades of racing data to be precise. So in this 2.5 hours workshop, you will have the opportunity to experiment with data using combination of techniques to look for the answer. You will extract key pieces of information that define the essence of each race, visualize the races and seasons using advanced techniques to determine how interesting each race is. You will learn the basics of analytics and machine learning and become familiar with the entire process, from data preparation and visualization to model building, prediction, and evaluation. You'll experience firsthand what challenges data scientists. So we hope you have fun in this workshop and solve the challenge to predict top 5 drivers in the upcoming circuit race. Now I would hand it over back to Anvita to guide through the following steps.
Yeah, thanks, Srinath. So I will just share the slide for you to workshop link. And you can see this link. So you can type this link and or scan the QR code and go to the workshop page. I'll just wait for a minute for all of you to open the page and then we'll proceed with the workshop.
Anvita, could you please share your screen? We are unable to see your screen.
Yeah, sure. So please scan the QR code or type the link and go to the page and workshop page, and we'll begin from there. I'll wait for a minute for everybody to open the page. So I believe you would have opened the page, and I'll stop sharing this slide and I'll go to the workshop page and start with the needful steps. I believe you can see my screen. So after you would have scanned the QR code for the workshop, you have come here on this page. This is a GitHub page where you can see various folders and files, and there's a README file. So let me go with the README file because that is where these are the steps that you will follow. So account creation you have already done. So your signing up is done. You have your free credits for this particular workshop in order to run these exercise and create your needful experiments. And then there's a lab guide also available in the PDF format. The link is there in the README file. So you can right click and open the link, and I will use this PDF for following part of my session. Me and Srinath will use that. And before we proceed further with our work on the cloud, you need to create a key, SSH key for this workshop that will be required for you to do the needful step. So I'll wait for maybe 3-4 minutes for all of us to just follow this step. So if you are a Windows user, you need to use PuTTY key generator, or if you are a Linux user, you can follow the needful guidelines. So if you just click on this link that you can see, right click and open. So this is how it will open. And these are the steps. So if you know how to do how to create the key, you can directly create the key, or alternatively, you can just follow these steps and create the key. So I believe that all of you are with me, and you will just, as we are talking, you are also doing your parallel creation of the key and generation of the various steps that we will follow. So do that with me. So you get the first-hand hands-on experience. So do your key generation. Maybe we'll wait for 3-4 minutes, and then we'll proceed with the next step. If you have any questions or any doubts, you can type in the Q&A box and we will address them. So you need to follow the steps exactly as it is given in the document. You can go to right click and open this document, as you can see on my screen. So depending on if you are a Windows user, you follow the steps here and just make sure that all the settings are correctly followed. You are generating SSH to RSA key, and with the encryption as defined here, 2048. And if you are a Mac user, steps are above. So you can just follow them and create the key. So I believe that you would have finished your key creation step. And after that, you need to create the compute instance. So there's a button here in the README file itself. Next step, getting started. So after you finish your key creation, once you generate your SSH key by following the steps, we will go ahead with the creation of your compute instance in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So you just need to click this button. And once you click this button, it will open this window, as you can see in the screenshot in the README file. So this will open the window and it will ask you to provide the name of your compute instance that you can give as per your choice. It's optional. And we'll just follow the same steps here for your creation of compute instance. Yeah. So just click on this button after you finish your key generation. Just click on this button, deploy to Oracle Cloud. And we will just follow these steps. Step number 1, click the button. Step number 2, we need to create the stack. Step number 3, further to that, configuration variables we need to select. And this is where you need to upload the key that you have generated in the previous steps. So public key, you will upload here. And further to that, we come to the step number 4, where we need to create the stack. So we have to make sure that run apply box is checked, and we'll click on create option. So once we click on create option, it will take 11 minutes from then, and it will create your instance. So just follow these steps. If you have not done your key generation, finish your key creation part, then click on deploy button. Once you finish clicking on deploy button and you see these create a stack interface, you just follow these steps, give a select option, click on next, and further to that in the second interface, upload your key and the public key. And in the third step, select run apply and click on create. And from there, it will take 11 minutes. So I will just give you maybe 2-3 minutes for you to just finish these steps. And then we will talk about the agenda of today, what we will do and how we will go about doing your ML model creation for this workshop. So I believe you would have finished these steps, which includes your key creation, clicking on the deploy button as part of getting started, step 1. And then proceeding with the stack creation, the creation of compute instance, and necessary tools which are required to run the Jupyter Lab environment from your account. So you would have finished this step number, these screens you follow. And once you click on I accept terms and condition and you go to step number 2, click next, and then upload your public key. Click run apply and click create, and you see instance being created, and it takes 11 minutes. So now we will, by the time your instance is getting created, we will take another maybe 10-15 minutes and walk you through the agenda of this workshop. And then we will come back and see if your instance is already created, and we'll proceed with the next step. So I will stop sharing this screen, and I will start sharing the PDF, the link to which, as you can see, which is given here. as part of this lab guide. So we will just follow the lab guide from here on. I'll stop sharing this page, the GitHub page, and I will follow the PDF, the lab guide, the link that was given here for you, for your reference. So you can see my screen, right? So you are here. Right now we have clicked on create instance, and I believe everyone is with me. And yes, I believe everyone is with me, and you have clicked on this particular button to deploy your instance. Is getting deployed, and then now we go to the next part, the agenda. So what we'll do today is I assume that some of you would have already understood in the first half, if you are part of the session, there was a session on machine learning where you would have explored that what products are available with the cloud, how you can utilize it for your work. So, but if you don't know machine learning and you are doing it for the very first time, then I will keep it very, very basic, very fundamental, so that I will take everybody with me. And so you understand what is expected out of machine learning, and then from there we'll proceed. So first part of any machine learning model building or any kind of machine learning is data collection, because these are data-driven algorithms, as Srinath has also given in the introduction, he has explained. So these are data-driven algorithms, and we are talking about data. So intelligence lies in the data. So first part of any machine learning is data collection. So as this workshop also will collect data, and data can come from anywhere. Data can come from the web, data can come from IoT sensors, data can be already recorded and stored in your hard drive, and you want to understand, is there any pattern in data? And then from there, how do you understand the pattern in data? You want to utilize any of the machine learning model to help you come up with any actionable insight. So that's the basic premise. And first step of any machine learning algorithm is data collection. So you do the data collection. So in this particular workshop also, first step is data collection. Second is data preparation. So when we go to the workshop, we will see what these files mean. So I'm not going in the detail of these files. This is just a screenshot. But the data preparation, what it means that you see the data, you understand whether your data is complete, valid, are there any missing values? Then you basically do the appropriate treatment to handle the missing values in the data. Is there any wrong data by chance? Suppose if you are collecting pictures of cars, and instead of car, there's a picture which is of, say, elephant, then that's not a valid data, right? So data preparation steps helps you understand whether your data is valid. Are there any missing value? Is there any wrong data? And you need to eliminate, you need to just look into data, because the intelligence comes from the data. So data has to be accurate, right? So we do the data preparation. And after initial data preparation, where we do the basic data treatment, we go with exploratory data analysis. What we do in this step, we understand how the data is. What is the distribution in data? Is data showing any kind of correlation? If your data has, say, 2 or 3 variables, are these variables correlated? Does it happen that one variable grows positively, another variable grows negatively? What they reflect, how they impact each other. So some of these aspects we understand as part of exploratory data analysis. And then based on how the data distribution is, we come up with some understanding of what algorithm will be used for a model building, right? So this step gives a clarity about the data. Other thing that you understand in exploratory data analysis is that you also understand whether there's any kind of outliers in your data. Is there any abnormal value in the data? For example, if you are collecting age data, typically age should be below 100 years, right? If there's a value called 777, right, it's not a valid age, right? So it's an abnormality, some kind of outlier, right? So it will not be a valid age for humans. So if there's this kind of data, we need to eliminate, we need to look into data, we need to understand the data distribution. and then come up with some kind of assessment and understanding, okay, this is the valid data. On this data, I will do my analysis. These are the columns, or these are the variables I will consider for my analysis. These are the variables which are not making sense for my analysis. This is where I also introduce a domain knowledge, which we will discuss as we proceed with our exercise, the workshop. So here we are also looking to introduce the domain knowledge. So how domain, maybe you will have a lot of data. In this workshop, we have data starting from, say, 1950 onwards. But if we want to do any kind of prediction that who will win the race this year, obviously the driver who was part of the race in 1950 or 1960, he will not be the qualifying driver to maybe participate in the race, because he is already so old, or may or may not be there also at this point of time. So what is the domain knowledge? How do we understand? How do we put any kind of constraints or parameters? So this is where we define what should be the qualifying data on which we want to do further analysis. So this is the third step of any machine learning model. So get the data, do the initial analysis where you eliminate missing value, understand data is valid or not valid, do exploratory data analysis by which you understand how your data distribution is, which also gives you some kind of hint of which machine learning model will help you do the necessary task of, say, prediction or classification, or maybe clustering, however, whatever is required. And then also the qualifying variables and outliers, and the last thing is any kind of domain knowledge that you want to incorporate. Once we do these steps, these three steps, which are related to understanding of data, collection of data, and data analysis, then we go to the model implementation. What is a machine learning model? Machine learning model is nothing but a scientific algorithm which understands the pattern in your data and create some kind of numeric variable, which basically basically, I mean, so this is what is called model. And this model you can store, you can serialize, and you can store and you can store it in pickle file. So you serialize and you store your model. But when a new data point comes, then this model will be used, because this model understands the pattern in data for you to do the needful prediction or needful classification or needful clustering based on your purpose, right? So here, as you can see, these are different names: linear regression, logistic regression, neural networks. So these are different classifiers, and there are many more. So these are various algorithms which we are using for this particular workshop. But how we choose workshop, how we choose any algorithm in the workshop, or any particular problem solving. Typically, how it works, as we have spoken about the analysis of data distribution, the step number 3 in exploratory data analysis, it depends on the distribution of data, number 1. Even then, in advance, we cannot say which particular model will work for this particular data distribution, right? So it's kind of empirical study. So based on your initial assessment, you may want to run some 2 or 3 algorithms and then see which one works best. And whatever works best, and maybe you further do parameter tuning in the algorithm, or maybe further cleaning, refinement in the data, and that is how you come up with the best accuracy in your model. So these are this is a very important and crucial step of model creation, and this is like you are learning. This is the brain of the solution, which is called model. And once you have the model, then comes the model serving. So now you have model built, and now you can, in a web environment, you can call, this model can be exposed as a REST API. So any query can come. You can send the query as a JSON format, and model will do the necessary calculation and give the necessary outcome. And that outcome can be utilized. It can be utilized in a web interface. It can be utilized to maybe create an alarm or create any kind of actionable insight as it is required for the purpose. In this purpose, we are predicting the best driver. So that's the purpose for this workshop. But overall, in general, you get the data, you do the data cleaning, you do the exploratory data analysis, do the model building, and final model serving, depending on what the use case is. Whether it's a web-based use case, you are exposing as REST API. If it's any other kind of IoT use case, maybe you will create a different kind of system. But overall, you will follow these 5 steps to do the needful work. And here, this is the UI that you will be able to create as part of this workshop. And this is where you will be able to predict the driver who is the best driver for a particular maybe condition. So with this, I believe that all of you, yeah. So let me just give a quick recap. So step one, data collection. And here in this particular workshop, we are downloading data from F1 datasets from the web. And then data preparation, exploratory data analysis, model implementation, model surveying, and last UI access. And then these are the files. If you have your GitHub page open, you will see these files are already there in your directory. So these are the files. So first three files will be used for data collection steps. And then file number, the name is starting with 02, that will be used with, for the data preparation step. For the third step, the exploratory data analysis, the file number that is starting with 03. Then the model implementation, it will be file number starting with 04 and file 5 for model survey. And towards the end, we will create a Flask server and create a web, we will try to test the model using a web interface UI access for the solution. So this was a quick recap, and now you can just go back to your tenancy and you can just see whether instance is created. So you will be able to see that that thing, the symbol converting to green color, which says that the creation is completed. And if that is done, what you can do now is you can click on this burger icon and you can click on compute. And from compute, you go to the instance. And from the instance page, you can see, you can see the public IP address. So you click on the instance, and when you see the instance, name of the instance, it shows the status, it shows the state running, and then it shows the public IP. So you please take this public IP, and when you are going to this particular page, make sure that you are selecting the right compartment in which you have created the instance. So once you select the compartment, go to compute instance and take the public IP. What you need to do now is you need to type this IP that you have copied from this particular page from the instance, take the IP, put a colon and put A001. Once you click that on your browser window, you will be able to see this particular page, which will help you log into your Jupyter environment, lab environment. And here the password is Red Bull 1. So just do this step, just see if your instance creation is done. Go to the instance page and try to find where your public IP is, and maybe take 2-3 minutes and just try to log into Jupyter Lab environment. Password is Red Bull 1. And before that, you need to go to your instance page and get your public IP. And in the public IP, you will put 8001 on the browser window, on a next separate browser window. We'll wait for 2 minutes for you to log into Jupyter Lab environment.
Mita, the password is Red Bull 1 is the fixed one, right?
Yes, password is fixed, Red Bull 1.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, here the difference is the IP, because everybody gets their instance generated, so the IP will be unique. And after the IP, they have to put the colon 8001, and then password is same for everybody, but they will go to the individual tenancy. So by the time everybody is logging into Jupyter Lab environment, I'll stop sharing, and Srinath, you can take over and you can introduce with the data related steps, and then I can talk about the machine learning. I'll stop sharing here.
Yeah, so we hope so far there aren't any issues, right? So please feel free to post your questions in Q&A. So we assume until now and you're able to get into the Jupyter Lab. The password is Red Bull 1, it is caps R, just an FYI. So going to the data preparation step. So basically this is how your, once you get into the Jupyter notebook, this is what you're going to see. So please ensure that you are in the beginners folder, and this is the folder structure that you would be seeing. So these are the bunch of files that you would be working on for the next couple of hours. So the first step in this is something on downloading the data, right? But we strongly encourage that not to execute this from scratch directly. That's because it's an offline execution and it would take about 40-45 minutes for you to download the data. But to begin with, we'll assume that the data has been already downloaded. So you can get inside the data folder and you'll see that the data is already there. For your interest, maybe after the session, you can get inside the from scratch folder and you can go through these files. So these are the bunch of files where you can see, we are using something called as a public API, which is the Ergast.com API to get the race data. And these are the bunch of data that we are pulling in. Then we are pulling the weather data for that particular year and for particular date, what was the weather and so on. And we are also collecting the qualifying data from the Formula One website. You can see, so we are using a bunch of Python libraries like Beautiful Soup to crawl and get the data from those APIs. And then finally is the exploratory data analysis, right? So you can avoid executing these files within the from scratch folder for now. So we already have the data in the data folder, right? So you can already see them in the slides. So this will take about more than 40 minutes. So please avoid it for this session. You can always do it outside of this session. So going to the data set. So as I already mentioned, so we are downloading this from the public API Ergast. So these are the API endpoints that you would be seeing in the notebook. And some of the qualifying data sets that I already showed you just a while back. So now beginning with the data processing step, right? I mean, this is the step which is as important as model building. I mean, unless your data is in proper clean state, that's when you can build a proper model. It's like garbage in, garbage out, right? So if your data is not clean, your model wouldn't be giving you the right or appropriate results. So this is where data preparation is very important. So now we'll be focusing only in the beginners directory that you are seeing here. We'll be inside the beginners directory only. So the first step is the data collection. So here you see that we are going through the race data sets. We are fetching the race results. We're getting the driver standings. We're trying to get the team or the constructor standings. So if you get inside the data folder, so you will always see that there are already the races data. So you have right from 1950 all the way till 2021, we have the race data. We have the season, the number of rounds in each season, the circuit, the lat long, the country in which the race took place, what is the date, and the corresponding Wikipedia page that talks about that particular Grand Prix, right? Along with it, you have the weather data in detail for that 1950, for that circuit ID, what was the weather like? So basically, the interesting part here is once you go in deep into each of the notebook, we are getting into the Wikipedia page that was mentioned here. And inside the Wikipedia page, you'll find the weather information that is being extracted, right? So this is the weather information data that you have. Then eventually you also have the results data that you're downloading from the Formula One, where you see which driver has won, which is the constructor, what is the time he's taken, what is the status, whether he's finished it or whether he was lagging, whether the driver did not finish, probably because he was out of fuel, whether there was some transmission problem or whether there was an engine failure, and what was the overall points he accumulated at the end of the race, what was his podium finish, and so on, right? So coming back to the slide, so this is what you're collecting the data from, and this formula data collection.pynb file will most likely be referring to the data folder, which we have already downloaded. So there is no need to download the data again, right? So the next step is the feature distribution. So as soon as you get the data, probably you would want to have a bird's eye view of what your data set is looking like, right? So here you can see what is the season data, how is the distribution of the season data set. For each round, what is the number of rounds data that you have in your data set. For the constructor team points after the race, so what are the team points after the race? How are they stacking up? So this is the basic fundamental feature distribution that you would look at given any data set for any machine learning problem that you would face, right? So next comes the feature to feature relationships. Basically here you would want to understand how for any given two features, how would they stack up, right? So the diagonal features are the features that you are referring to the same features. But if you go to an extent, so if I click on, if I go back to the notebook here, to the data preparation, right? Sorry, in the exploratory data analysis. So you would see a lot of, you'll be seeing right from cleansing the data, you'll be renaming some of the team names that have changed over a period of time. And you are trying to standardize some of the country names, like, if there is BRI, which was referring in the previous time, now you're referring it as UK, USA, and so on. And some of the data sets that you're referring to is something called as DNF, which is whether the driver did not finish. So DNF refers to driver did not finish the race. So who are the possible drivers who have not finished the race so far? So some of the analysis that you are working out, and which are the teams that haven't finished the race? What is the ratio? You would see that some of the top drivers or the top team constructors like Red Bull have low DNFs, which means they have been doing very well so far as compared to Lotus or any other constructor teams, which is in the beginning of the race. So this is the driver's point finish percentage at home. So you would want to know whether any driver has an home advantage. So you would see that Lewis Hamilton tends to play, has more of an home advantage, and Mark Webber is leading the charts as compared to other drivers. So these are some of the exploratory data analysis that you would do as you get a data. So this is something on the podium finish percentage at home. So how many times would a person who belongs to the same nationality and in his own home country, how often would he finish the race at podium? So these are some of the interesting analysis that you would see. And yeah, so as you can see, go through further in the notebook, you can do different kind of basic analysis even before you build the model, right? Just for you to understand how the data points are stacked up for each of these feature column, if we may put it, right? So in particular, for our analysis point of view, we'll be analyzing 2021 data set in particular for our analysis, because this is the latest data that we have, and we would want to predict for upcoming circuit who would be the top 5 drivers that would be finishing the race. So this will be the data set that we would be primarily working on, right? So now coming back to the slides. So yeah, so these are pretty much everything that you would be going through these bunch of data preps, like right from the data collection to right from once you collect the data, as Anvita showed you earlier, you have different data sets which are available in different files. Now, how you would be bringing them together is the data preparation and merging. So this is the file that you would eventually have a single clean top view data set that will have all the features across all the data sets that have been downloaded so far, right from the weather data to the races, to the results, to the drivers, to the constructors, team, and so on, right? So then you would be doing the exploratory data analysis that we have just gone through. Then eventually will be the machine learning model. So probably we would pause here for about 25 to 30 minutes for you to, get hang of these Python notebooks. So you may want to begin from the data collection notebook and end until exploratory data analysis. So it would take about 30-35 minutes. So once we finish that, then we would touch base on machine learning model, which Anita would brief you on. So if you have any questions as you're going through each of these data preparation or data merging or exploratory data analysis, feel free to post your questions on Q&A. We would either answer it live or we would answer it over the chat.
Yeah, so there's a question by Amli who has joined late. So maybe I will just repeat the steps for Amli. By the time rest of the participants can proceed with the steps as they are doing. So Amli, I will just share my screen and I'll walk you through the needed steps. So Amli, as you can see, you can scan the QR code and just get access to your tenancy if you do not have so. So this is where we begin. So we just make sure that you have the access to your tenancy to your free trial for this workshop. And once you have the access to tenancy, I believe that you have the link to the GitHub page. So from there, so I'll just wait for a few minutes just to make sure that you are in your tenancy, and then I'll begin with the needed steps for you to proceed with the workshop. So Emily, this is a step for you. So now since you are able to log in, you can come to the GitHub page, and once you are on the GitHub page, your login is done and you have the access to PDF file. So now first step that you can follow is the creation of SSH key. So depending on whether you are using a Windows machine or a Mac or Linux OS, you can just right click on this link, and this is how it will open. So you can just follow the steps for the key generation and generate your key. So once you generate your key, we'll give you maybe 2-3 minutes for a key generation. And once you generate your key pair, we'll go with the next step. Simply once you are done with your key generation, you can click on this deploy to cloud button here under getting started. So these are the steps for you to follow. Once you generate your key, SSH key, follow the instructions as per this document. The link is given here. And then next you have to do the we have to start with your instance creation and deployment of the necessary tool for you to run the Jupyter Lab environment for your OCI account. So for that, what you need to do is you need to click on this deploy to Oracle Cloud button. And once you click on this button, further to that, there are 3 steps. Step number 2, 3, and 4, you have to follow as per the document, as per the README file in the GitHub. So these are the steps you need to follow. And when you go to the last step, so step 1, you just click and you have to select that you have accepted the terms and condition, and then click next. And then you come here. This is where you need to upload your key that you have generated, the public key. And once you upload the public key, you come to the, you click next, and this particular window will open, and you have to select the run apply and click on create. And then this step will take another 11 minutes for you to get your instance deployed in your tenancy. So we'll just give you another maybe 2-3 minutes for you to follow all these steps, key generation, and then deploy to Oracle Cloud and follow all these step number 2, 3, 4. And once you do that, by the time your instance is getting deployed, 11 minutes, 12 minutes it will take approximately. So Srinath will walk you through the data steps which will be required for this workshop. And then maybe you will come with the rest of the participants and we'll proceed with the model generation part for you. Just follow these steps and we'll connect with you in another 2-3 minutes. So just a quick time check. I think there are one or two issues which the team is interacting on the chat window, the question answer window. But at the same time, just a quick time check with the rest of the participants that you are able to follow the steps 1, 2, and 3 till exploratory data analysis. So maybe we will wait for another 5 minutes or so, or then we can go with the model implementation step. So there's a question from Sahil. Again, he also could not follow some of the steps due to internet problem. So Sahil, can you just type also which particular step you are into, and we'll just maybe start from there, just quickly see that. So for Sahil, Emily, and whoever else has missed the beginning step, I'm just repeating them. So once you sign up to Oracle Cloud, so go to the GitHub page. I believe you have the link. Srinath, can you just type the link again in the chat window? So this is the GitHub page link that you can see on my screen. And once you sign up to your Oracle account, you have to log in from the same ID, email ID. So once you have logged in, you have signed up, and you have no issues in your signing up, you can proceed with the steps as per README file in the GitHub link that you can see in this window, and Srinath will be sharing that in the chat. So go to the GitHub page and go through the README. First step is done. You have done your, you have created your cloud account. And lab guide is the PDF that we are following. So that we will be referring to as part of the workshop when we present. And first step that you have to do is you have to generate your SSH key. If you have not generated, then generate your key, and you need to follow these steps. So you generate
Vijay,
your
I
key.
see. Sorry, Vijay, you have a problem with the region. You need to see what is the region you have logged into already. Mumbai region, you wouldn't have subscribed for it already. By default, the home region, you need to check it. What home region you have. It could be Ashburn or Phoenix. Then you need to try accordingly. On the top right side, you can see the region that you have selected.
Yeah, so just make sure that all of you have generated your key. If you missed the initial part, so key generation, there are steps here. You can see the link in the README file. And further to that, after you generate your key, you need to deploy your compute instance by clicking on this button, deploy to Oracle Cloud. So once you click on this button, it will create your compute instance, and it will do the necessary setup so that you can run your Jupyter Lab environment from your OCI account. So for that purpose, you need to click on this button after the key generation. And once you click on this button after key generation, you need to follow these steps, step number 2, 3, and 4. So you need to agree on terms and condition to create stack and click on next button. Further to that, you upload your key, public key that you have generated in the previous step. So once you generate your key and upload that, you click next. And after clicking next, you click on run apply and select run apply and click on create. And this step will initiate your instance creation, and it will take about 11 minutes. So please do that. And after you do that, after you follow this step and after your instance, all the steps are successful, you will see the succeed message here with the green color on the page. Once this step, so this will take another 11-12 minutes. And once you see this message, your deployment is successful. And from there, the next step will be for you that you click on this icon, click on the compute option here in the menu, and click on the instance on the options that you see, the first option instance. And after you click on instance, you choose your compartment. This will be your compartment, which will be deployed. And from the compartment, once you select the instance, so once you see the detail of instance in this compartment, you will be able to see in your screen the public IP. So once you see the public IP, the next step for you will be, so you have to just follow the steps. So you will come to step number 9, where you have to type the IP :8001, and it will enable you to go to your Jupyter Lab environment by typing this password. So all the steps. So in case if you have missed any steps, or if you are not able to follow, and if you want to repeat the exercise in offline, what you need to do is just follow step number 1 onwards. And when you come to step number 10, you will be able to log into your Jupyter Lab environment. So these are the steps you need to follow if you have missed. And we'll just wait for another 2-3 minutes, and then we'll begin with the machine learning model generation part of the workshop. And before that, I will just request Srinath to give a quick review of the data part, because some of the participants have missed the data part. So we'll just have a quick recap of the data generation steps of this workshop, and then we'll go for the model generation part. So just whoever has missed any of the initial steps, just follow step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So do the key generation, deploy the, click on this button, deploy to Oracle Cloud, and follow the steps as given. And once you see the success message, everything should be.
For those of you who have just joined, here's a quick recap on the data part. Assuming you have already logged into your Jupyter Notebook, and you must be seeing this screen. So once you're in the screen, please get inside the beginners folder, and that's where you have to be there. This is where all the action happens. After that, currently we are doing the data part, where we are executing a bunch of notebooks, the data collection, the weather data collection, the qualifying data collection. We are preparing the data, and eventually we are doing the exploratory data analysis. So this is where we are currently are. Of a quick recap, please avoid executing data from the from scratch directory. We already have preloaded data in the data folder. So once, so this is where you begin with. This is the first file you would execute. So this is the current screen is showing about the from scratch, which we don't need to do it right now. This is for your reference. Post this session, you can always get inside the from scratch folder and see how the data was downloaded and how it was written. There are some REST APIs or the public endpoints from where the data has been pulled. So this is for your reference. So these are the public endpoints that have been used to extract the data. So post which, so this is where you begin. You execute the 3 notebooks in the beginners directory that I have just showed. So this is where you have to be, and you can execute these files sequentially, right from the data collection all the way till exploratory data analysis. So here you can, each of these notebooks has its own function. So we download different bunch of data, the race data sets, the driver standings, the constructor standings, and so on. And you then eventually evaluate and analyze the feature distributions that you see for each of those data points that you have downloaded, the season data, the constructor points, and so on. Then you also do, once you have individual feature analysis, then you do the feature to feature analysis and the relationships that they have with each other. So this is what you do in the data collection notebook. Then you also download the weather data for each of the race for a given year. Then you download the qualifying data data part. So as you can see, all the notebooks are referring to the data folder where we have already preloaded the data set. So all you need to do is get inside the data folder and refer to the particular CSV, and all the notebooks are reading from those particular folder. So next is the data preparation. So this is where you slice and dice data, you prepare, you merge, you clean. So as you can see in the slide, So this is where you're reading all the bunch of data that's been already downloaded beforehand, the races, the result, the qualifying, the driver standings, the constructor standings, and weather data. So at the end of this, execution, you must have a single file where you have cleaned the data and you have one single CSV file, which is containing the entire data set that has been merged eventually for our machine learning model to be trained upon. So this is the exploratory data analysis that you do. So this is the data model. As you can see, you have different bunch of data, and this is how you combine. So each table you have an ID that maps to another ID in the races column or a season column, and that's how you merge and prepare the data to get an eventually one single data model or a data view, if you will, right? So once you have that, so this is where you go and prepare your data sets for your EDA or exploratory data analysis. So you execute the EDA notebook to do your exploratory data analysis to get a view of the data set. And as I've already mentioned, so you can see some of the data cleansing that we are doing, like, renaming the constructors who have eventually gone on to be called as Force India or Lotus F1 and so on, for us to be consistent in our training. And also some of the nationality, that have been renamed, like BRI, which is British, has been renamed to UK of late. So some of the data cleansing steps that you can see. And some of the analysis that you do, right? Like how many people have not finished the race, higher the DNF, which is did not finish the race ratio, which means highly likely that that person more or less was unable to finish the race most of the time, right? As you can see, our most popular drivers like Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel have lower DNF ratio, which means they have been finishing races more often, right? Similarly, you have DNF, did not finish for constructor or the team that is responsible for building the car or maintaining the engine and so on. As again, you can see for those particular drivers who drive for say McLaren or Red Bull or Ferrari, they have lower DNF ratio, which is good as compared to Lotus, which has a higher DNF. So these are some of the interesting data analysis that you can do. Something on driver points percentage, who have for a given home race, who has the higher driver percentage, and so on. So these are some of the, as you execute the notebook, this is something which are very self-explanatory. So that's been that have been mentioned in these slides as well. So yeah, I think I presume most of you would have executed most of these steps by now, and I think Anvita, maybe we can proceed with the ML models.
Yes, so just for a quick recap for maybe a few of you who have joined late or had some issue in signing up and all. So as part of any ML model learning, we initially do the data collection as explained by Srinath, and initial data analysis, and then exploratory data analysis, in which we understand if there are any issues in data and which is the data that we want to utilize for model building. And then we go with the model training. And so as you can see in this PDF, there can be some hypothesis by which you want to create your model. So in this case, I want to, my hypothesis is that my next winner, say assuming if I want to predict the top 5 winners for the race, next winner, then hypothesis is that it can depend on the qualifying position, right? Or it may depend on the constructor or reliability, or depends on the circuit, race, driver confidence, right? So some of these can be important parameter. It may not depend on, see, if you see the data, there is also year, there is also maybe date of birth, or there are quite a few other parameters, but maybe in order to predict winner, they may not be important parameters, right? So based on your initial data analysis, exploratory data analysis, and your domain understanding of the problem, you say, this is my hypothesis. And for this particular problem, for this particular prediction, this is the hypothesis. So based on this hypothesis, we will go about model building, right? And if your hypothesis changes, say instead of say qualifying position, you say, no, my winning prediction of the winner depends very heavily maybe on some other parameter, right? So you need to include that parameter and in your data preparation step, and then based on that, you will proceed, right? So, yeah. So for this particular workshop, in file number 4, model training, we have used 6 models to train, and if you have any question about understanding these algorithms, and if you want us to go in detail, please type a message. We will go in detail. Otherwise, very briefly, I will cover. So here what we are doing is we are doing a classification. So in a machine learning, there are 2 types of problem, supervised and unsupervised training that you do. Supervised means you have some understanding of the data. In past, for example, you have this past data, and you also know in past who were the drivers who won, or what was their profile, and what if they did not finish, what was the problem. So some of this data you already have. So you have the history data, you have history. So here you are doing supervised learning, and in supervised again, you are doing the classification, right? So classification, you want to classify, right? So, and for classification, we are using these 6 algorithms: logistic regression, linear regression we do on numeric data. Here we are putting some kind of class label. We are grouping the data. So that is why we are doing logistic regression. We are also trying to form a decision tree, trying to understand if there's some kind of rules based on which the data can be quickly classified. We are also doing random forest. Forest is nothing but a collection of trees. Assuming if you build a tree which is not giving you very strong, high probability for classification, right? So some of these big classifiers, so you collect them, and it's like having the collective intelligence of the crowd to do the job, right? So instead of having one very strong classifier, we may have maybe multiple average or weak classifier, and how we put them together. So that's the principle behind random forest. And then we do the support vector machine classification. And why we are doing so many classifiers? Because in the beginning, we don't know which particular model will work best. So there's some kind of empirical study that we need to conduct. So initially we do some exploratory data analysis, based on which we understand which kind of algorithm we will use based on the data distribution, number 1. And number 2, further based on the assessment of EDA, here we want to do some kind of further empirical study, based on which we will say, okay, this is the best model for this data and this problem, right? And this will change based on your change in data and change of the problem, right? So here we are doing support vector machine. Support vector machine is again a very, very strong classifier. It works in all kind of problem. It helps you classify speech, text, image, lot of kind of data. It helps you handle, and very fast. So it's a very good model to learn to. And then we are also using naive Bayes, which is again a very simple technique, but very powerful, and nearest neighborhood, KNN. So these are the 6 classification methods we are using. And before I finish, I will also show you the link of Oracle's documentation about our machine learning methods. So you can go in detail about these algorithms, and you can, if you do not know in advance, you can learn more about them. So this is about the classification, and that we are doing as part of this exercise. And when you go to this particular file, 04.ml modeling file, the notebook, what you will see here is, so you can go to the step and you can run them, but I just want to highlight a few important points that you will want to pay attention to. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so this is your data. Okay, this is the exercise that you need to do as part of this workshop. So this you have to do by yourself. Yeah, so let me stop sharing this and let me go to the code itself, and let me just walk you through the code. So these are the 6 algorithms. You can also read a brief about these algorithms here in this particular README. And then you can start proceeding with the execution. So here, there's a small difference in the PDF where you see that the file, the directory name is data F data directory, and here is different. So there's a minor difference, but anyhow, I mean, code is final at any point of time. So just start executing them. Here we are importing quite a few libraries from scikit-learn, and these are the classifiers that you are importing: logistic regression, random forest, and dysentery, and so on. And then this is how your data, final data that you have prepared using initial previous steps during exploratory data analysis. So this is your data. And then further to that, you want to do, you want to create the dictionary for the purpose of model generation. So you do that step, and then next to that, just keep following the steps, and then you just this is where you create the directory where you are storing the model, right? So this is where your model will be stored. So you just follow the step for further cleaning up your data and creating the dictionary needed for the model training. And this is how you are defining your training steps. And then you have generated your created your directory for storing the model. And now you see the performance. So once we will give you some time, maybe you can take some time and run these steps, another maybe 15 minutes, and run these steps. And then you see, you should be able to get these accuracies. And this is where you see what is the performance of the model. And you see which model is best performing in this particular case. So here we see random forest classifier is the best performing 0.94. So that's the accuracy. So just please follow these steps, run in your Jupyter environment. And then we'll just wait for another 10-15 minutes. And then we will just talk about these plots. And then you need to do this exercise by yourself. So here, basically, what we are doing is we are predicting based on the active driver, the constructor, and then there's a combined when this is the exercise you need to do where both driver and constructor we want to combine. How do we want to do the prediction? So this is what you need to do in this exercise. So I assume that you are able to follow the initial steps and execute the given code as part of model building exercise. And I mean, for the existing code, you are able to execute that using your in your Jupyter environment. And now we will just walk you through the exercise that you are supposed to do by yourself. So what you have done in your, I mean, so far the code was already there. You were only supposed to follow and maybe understand the code and execute that. So that those are the steps you have already followed. And now this is the exercise that you are supposed to do by yourself. So this is the model exercise. And in this exercise, what you will do is, in the existing code, as you see that we are predicting based on the driver or the constructor. So that kind of prediction, the model training is already there, and you are able to see the accuracy also of the, each of the model out of the 6 which were chosen. Now, in this case, we want to do a combined model training. So we want to train the model based on 2 factors as part of this exercise: the driver as well as the constructor. So what we will do is we'll first build the data set. So here the hypothesis is that we have initially defined the hypothesis for the exercise that it depends on the constructor, driver, the position, confidence, reliability, and active driver and active constructor. Why this active driver and constructor is important? Because as Srinath has also shown, we have chosen the recent data from 2021. And again, we want to only focus on active driver and constructor because if some of the drivers or constructor who are not participating, we don't want to consider them as part of the model building and training, right? So this is where you build the data set and the steps for you to follow. So just a repeat of the same. And so basically, I mean, you are expected to write the code, and I'm just walking you through the needed steps that you will do as part of your exercise. So you build the data set, and they have given a sample where you choose the right appropriate columns from your database table and just put them in a data as part of the data creation. And next, what we will do is filter the data set. And then this is where you apply the active filter. So we want to choose the active driver and active constructors. And next, what we will do is we want to create a standard scalar and label encoder for different features. So how do we do that? We call the label encoder function, and we just follow this particular code to do the label. So whatever numeric value are there, we want to just create the encoder corresponding value for that. And then further to that, we want to apply the same list to ML algorithms for cross-validation for different models. So we have already done the model generation for driver alone and constructor alone, and here we want to repeat for the combined driver and constructor. We just want to repeat the same step. So here we are taking these models, and I'm just showing you the code, but this you are supposed to do by yourself. So you just define prepare the data set and predicted variables. So here, this is your X is your training data that you are choosing, and Y is your target, the prediction variable, target predicted value. So you specify that, and then so in Y we want to know the position. So that is why we are dropping the position from the training data, and we want to put the position as part of supervised learning for the model. And then next, what you do is you want to do the cross-validation. Why cross-validation? This is again a very important step for the ML, because say assuming you have 100 data points and you have taken 70 data points for training and 30 data points for testing. Now you get one accuracy for those 30 data points. But this is a random selection that you have performed. Now, assuming if your data points are of a type, then you get X accuracy. But if your data points, if there's any change in the distribution or value going forward, when you want to actually execute a model in the real world scenario, you want it to be like most robust and capturing all the possible variation in that data. So that is when you do the cross-validation. So you just randomly create multiple combinations of training and testing data sets. So not just one training set and one testing set. That is how you define. So here we want to do, say, I think 10-fold cross-validation. And so you write the code for that. And again, we want to select all the 6 classifiers, which we have detailed in the beginning. So, and we are just taking the with default settings. So we are not specifying any further specification for any of these classifiers. So we just take the default values and we just create our data. We specify how we want the data to go. The cross, so this is like 10-fold cross-validation that we have specified for the better accuracy of a model, more robust model. And then we proceed with the training steps. So once you execute this command, so and you execute, and here we are seeing the accuracy using a box plot. So we want to know how the data distribution is, where most of the values are lying, what is the maximum and minimum, and based on that we want to just assess. So this is how we want to visualize our data. And so now we want to compare the models. So now all the 3 models. So these 2 models for the driver data, which was already the code was there. only for the team data, the code was there, and this accuracy was already, if you see your code, this accuracy is already, I mean, when you execute, this is already there. But the combined data where we want to train the model for both driver and constructor, the code that you are supposed to write, that steps that we have just walked through. So once you write those steps, you execute your notebook, then you will get for this particular data that we have in our data files, this is the accuracy that you will get. If you change your data, your numbers will change, right? So that is how it is. And in this particular scenario, we see that support vector classifier for the team data gives the maximum accuracy 95% in this particular scenario. And I encourage you to follow these steps, write the code for combined data, run the code and get these numbers. And once you execute the code, you will be able to see this plot in your Jupyter environment. And once you do that, we will come to step number 5, which is the final step for model serving. So I'll pause for maybe another 5-10 minutes, and then we will go with the model serving, the UI part, where you see your code running and you are able to perform the operations, the prediction using a web interface. So I assume that you are able to follow the code as per file ML modeling 04.ml modeling in the file for model building, and you are able to execute the code for training the model for only driver, only constructor, and a combined model for which you are supposed to write the code, which we have walked you through. In case if you have any difficulty in writing the code, I will also show you the solution, which is given in this folder called RES. So if you go to this folder, you see the solution. So solution is there. So if you have any difficulty in writing the code by yourself, you can see the code, understand, and maybe once you understand the code, you should be able to modify and maybe create your own variation of this particular data, and see how once you change your data, your outcome changes, you see different numbers. So if you have not done any of the ML model building in past, or maybe a particular model, maybe you can play with the data, play with the numbers and variables, and just see what happens. So it will give you very good insight about that. And now we will go to the final step of this workshop, where we want to see the outcome being run on the web UI. So before that, I'll just very quickly walk you through the model serving this Python notebook. And after that, Srinath will walk you through the web UI option. So I'll stop sharing this and just go to the PDF again. Yes, so once you are able, and in case if you're not able to be with me, and some of you joined late and you are missing certain steps, so feel free and run it in offline, and you have the email ID as part of your registration, so you can always interact with us, and just follow the steps and everything works. So once you follow the steps correctly. So I'm going to the final step for model serving. So what we want to do here is, we know that as per our domain understanding and data understanding, we say that model must use the driver confidence endpoint and team constructor point. So this is what we want to specify, right? So this is like one hypothesis or premise. And then based on that, we specify the domain knowledge in our code. So when you go through the code, you will understand that why certain things are happening once you follow the instructions given in the PDF file also. And so here we are generating the qualifying data set for predictor, which we will use in the next final step. So, and what you also see here is, we have seen our data, we have so many, data files, and there are so many columns in each of the data files. So out of so many variables, which particular variable is of most importance for us for a particular job. Here we want to predict the maybe winner. So in this particular thing, problem in this particular purpose, what is the most important parameter for us, right? So here we see the quali underscore POS. This is the most important parameter for us. Maybe in some other, for some other problem, some other parameter will be more important, right? So this again, when you are playing with the Python code and you want to change certain parameters, maybe you want to just write a new code itself to do a different job for you, right? So you see how these plots change for you. I encourage you to do that by yourself. And in this particular case where we see the random forest, so model, this is how the model gets built. So initially when you have the data, what this particular algorithm does, it quickly tries to understand some rule in the data and then divide it into maybe two groups. And from that is how you see these two nodes getting generated, and then further to that. So in each of the step, it will try to, so this is what an algorithm does internally. So when you come to this particular node, a condition is satisfied, you know that you can come here, and very quickly within 4 steps, if this is your final outcome, it will be identified, right? And in certain cases, if this has to go through all these steps, it will take a longer time, right? So this is how the tree generation will happen based on what data you have, the values of the data. And this is the forest where you see various decision trees, and you see they have different depth, different distribution, the color. So you see, and again, once you change the data, you see all this being changed. And so I will stop sharing my screen. Srinath, just maybe you can walk us through the deploying of the web server, the setting up the web server, and just.
Thanks, Anvita. So the final step would be assuming that you have, trained your model, you're happy with your results, you have saved the pickle object. So the next thing would be to have a user interface that you would like to show your results, right? So here we'll be using Flask, which is Python web framework to deploy and access our results, or probably test our model through a UI, right? So if you go to the Jupyter lab, there is something called as web folder. So when you get inside the web folder, two particular files of interest would be predictor.py. So this is where you mention, the path of your pickle file or the model that you have pickled to read from. So once you load the pickle, you can execute this Python file. Next is, once this predictor file has been updated with your path where you have saved your model, then you can quickly go to test predictor, which is to quickly test your model, where we are reading the predictor file. And then we run this analysis and you try to do the prediction, right? Now, this is on the backend part. Now, coming to the UI part, there is a file called app.py, which is our Flask file, where you load the same model and then you try to predict from your UI. So assuming that you have set the configuration in your predictor file, which is invariably again read in this app.py file, you run this application. So that's what is being shown in the slides. You can follow the slides here. So you make those changes, as I just mentioned. You load the trained model and you change the other parameters. Then you test the model in your test predictor.py file, which I just showed you again. Then you go to app.py file, where you can call your predictor. Then you open the server app, where you'll be going into the UI to test your file. So in order to do this, there is something called as terminal, which you can access by clicking the plus button to your top left corner. So when you click on the plus button, there is this screen opens up, and where you can see the terminal. You click on terminal, and then you execute these bunch of commands, right? You can just run the app.file. It's not updated in the slide, but what you will be doing here is you'll be going here and you'll be instead running app.py, right? So once you run this, the Flask would be up and running. So you should be able to see that it shows something like this on the screen here, which you are seeing. So once you once everything is fine, you go back to your instance IP that you would have accessed your notebook from. Like in my case, this is the one, 132.145.150, but in your case, it would be something else, followed by port 8080. So the Flask could be running on port 8080. So you go to your instance, which you would have accessed your Jupyter node lab as well, but you're accessing 8001 for Jupyter. But in your F1 predictor, it would be port 8080. That's the only difference. So once you execute this, you should be able to see this UI, which is up and running. So now here, this is what we have been working for last couple of hours, right? So say tomorrow you have a circuit called or Red Bull Ring, which is a circuit race that is going to happen tomorrow. And you understand that the weather for tomorrow is, say, it's a wet weather, probably it's rain is forecasted, and you want to predict who would be the top 5 drivers for this combination of circuit and the type of weather. Then these are the top 5 drivers that the model has predicted that, would be, of course, the top 3 would be the podium, but the top 5 would be the racers who would eventually get more points, right? So the model is predicting Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and so on. So you can try for different circuits. So to say after 2, if it is Bahrain and the weather is, warm, then you can predict what would be the top 5 racers for that particular circuit. Yeah. So this is the conclusion of this workshop. If you go further down the slides, that is what you would see. So basically, that's what, right? At the end of the machine learning, you want to understand what are the possible hypotheses that has led to this prediction, right? Of course, you'll see that qualifying position is the more prime criteria. It depends on the driver who's driving, the team reliability, or the constructor team for whom the driver is driving the car for, the type of circuit, and of course the confidence of the driver. If he has do not finish ratio high, meaning to say more often than not he's not able to finish the race, that might be a major factor in him not even coming up to the podium. So these are some of the hypotheses that you can figure out. But the more data you have, like for example, tomorrow in your data set, you have the type of engine or the type of tires that they use for a particular race, right? Even those also play a major factor. But in this workshop, it is very limited to these bunch of features, if you will. But tomorrow, if you have more features like the tires or the engine, then you can predict even better on your predictive model. So yeah, so this is the end of the workshop. If you have further questions, please do put out in our chat. We'll be happy to answer. Anvita, if you have any final comments, please do share.
Yeah, Srinath, can you just go to the confidence slide? Okay, let me share this.
Do you want me to share, Anvita?
Yeah, you can share it. Yeah, I have closed it. So. Yeah, just one. Yeah, in the next one, hypothesis slide, Srinath. Yes, yeah. So now here the hypothesis is like Srinath has explained that we assume that qualifying position, team, driver reliability, and these are the parameters. Now, assuming if if during your exploratory data analysis step number 3, if you or maybe step number 2 where you are doing initial data analysis, if maybe you don't have very good data for say circuit or maybe that driver confidence, right, then that will not remain your important parameter. So that is why step number 2 and 3 also play a very important role for you to understand which are the important parameters. And then when you work with the best of the understanding of data and the domain, the best of the models you can train. So that was my just final remark on this. And one more point here, the Slack group, the link that you see in this PDF, that is currently not enabled for this workshop. So here we are using the email ID that you would have got as part of your registration link. So any further interaction you can follow. So please, this link, this Slack link is currently not enabled. So just one more. Yeah. Yes, so I mean, maybe last few questions if you have, you can post your questions and please go through the code, run your code, modify the code, play with data, insert your new data points and just see what happens. And if you have already have some kind of proficiency in ML models, it will be easy for you. But if you are doing it for the first time, just play with it, you will have a lot of fun. So yeah. So thanks for your time, and I know it has been a long day. So over to you, Shiva. From me and Srinath, we had good time in explaining things to participants. I hope you found it useful.